Hey, how's it going? Hopefully you guys are all doing well. Thanks for joining the live stream tonight. So we will get started here in a second. Ray's going to be joining us in just a few minutes. So I just want to let you guys know, feel free to drop questions in the chat. And also, please go check out Instagram and follow Ray at SharkBaitCustom. Thanks everyone for joining. Looks like we got Pops in the house. He's saying this is going to be an awesome stream, so I'm looking forward to it here. We're just going to wait a couple more minutes, and while Ray's connecting in, and I'll add him to the stream. How is everyone doing? How's your night going so far? What do you guys think about custom cards, custom sports cards? You can go ahead and add it in the chat. Add in your comments, and don't forget to add any questions as well. I'll look through the chat as we go on and bring those questions on the screen. Hey. This is my mom right here, Gail Will. She says she wants to learn about custom cards. All right, hopefully tonight we'll be able to learn more about it, learn more about the process. And I got a lineup of questions to ask. So we can go ahead and get started here. I think we're good. Hey Ray, how's it going?
Doing well.
Hey, thanks for joining, man. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate you taking the time to meet up here. So we are live, just so you know, we're ready to go. Awesome. I appreciate you also taking some cards to show us. So hopefully we can get into those as well. So how long, if you don't mind, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. I was trying to get connected into my, so I wouldn't get a reverberation. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
The sound is not coming in through my headphones, so I feel like it's going to give a some. I hope not. We'll see.
Well, while you're talking, I can hear you clear, so I'm not having any issues.
Perfect. Yeah, as long as there's no echo, then we're good to go.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. So I gotta say, I like that Bryant jersey in the background. That's awesome. I'm a big Kobe fan. So
one of my prized possessions right there for sure. I got Kobe behind me too. I don't know if you see the celebration, of him 24 back there too. So I'm a big Kobe guy myself.
Oh, nice. Awesome. All right. So let's go ahead and get into some of the questions. Well, the first question I wanted to ask is why SharkBaitCustom? How did you come up with that name? And after that, we'll get into more questions.
Shark has always been kind of a nickname that I've gone with in sports growing up and things like that. And I'm a big Disney person too. Some of my close friends know that about me. And I'm a huge Finding Nemo fan too. And that's where that originally came from. You know what I mean? And one time the name SharkBait stuck when I wouldn't let it go. One of the movie scenes, I'm a big movie quoter, quote people, and I'll quote scenes, and I'm say, Mount Wanahakalugi or whatever, some from the movie, you might catch me saying that quite often. So that name just stuck around one time, SharkBait. I thought, I really like that. And I'm a gamer and I used it as a gamer tag. And then when I was coming into the artist world, I wasn't sure what to call myself. I don't know why my name wouldn't work. I really never thought about that. But I went with SharkBait, and they kind of just stuck. And then my style lent into it. The shark bites is what some people call them. You know what I mean? So it kind of just works out with what I do.
Nice. So how long have you been into the whole custom card industry? How long have you been doing it, and what made you inspired you to get into it?
Yeah, for sure. So we're coming around just on a year now. So I posted my first post on Instagram like May 20th of 2021. Okay. And I was on furlough from work during COVID. That was like right at the end of COVID. You know, or sorry, not right at the beginning of COVID. I was on furlough, and so I was at home and I was bored, and I didn't want to get like stuck in a rut of just playing video games all the time. You know what I mean? That was my old go-to, and I'm 34 years old now, and even though I like to do that, I wanted to do something else I thought was productive but still fun. So I had old cards from the 90s, and I knew people were getting back into cards. I really didn't know much about the current hobby and the state of things. And so I started looking up like Griffey rookies and things I thought, oh, these are going to be worth thousands for sure, right? Not worth thousands, obviously. So in my mind, I thought that's insane. I wonder what I could do to make them worth thousands. And then I thought somebody else had to have had that thought already. You know what I mean? Like someone else has to have thought, I'm going to make these into something. So I went on to Instagram and I searched like baseball card art or something like that, baseball art, or I can't remember exactly what I searched, but I stumbled across an Instagram of modern baseball art. He's still an artist out there who does really cool, whimsical things that I really resonated with as a kid who grew up with comic books. I love comic books. I love their style, big, bold colors and things like that. And so I was surfing through that page and I thought, man, I wonder if I can do this. I wonder what I can come up with as a person who's creative. I grew up drawing. I still like to draw here and there and doing graffiti. Don't tell anybody. You know what I mean? I'm sure it's past the time they can get me for it. But, you know, just growing up like that in art, and I was like, man, I wonder what I can contribute. So I cut my first card, and I still have it here. I brought it aside so people could see it. This is what the first SharkBait card ever looked like. I mean, you know, I layered like I was trying to count them. I think I used a spacer, and I cut through that with the blade. And now I don't know. That probably took me 5 hours just to do that. I would never do that again. But yeah, so I cut a card, and then I started meeting some people on Instagram through the hobby. Donnie B, Card Art Syndicate. Card Art Syndicate was one of the first people who ever brought me into a project. He runs the Project 86, and I love to be involved in something. You're speaking my language. You want me to be involved in a project? That sounds great to me. You know, give me something to be driven towards. I love that kind of thing. And so Card Art Syndicate put me on that project. And that's when I really, you know, fell in love with card art, because I saw the recognition that you could get, one, like being part of something, which I think is cool. It's all a big team to me. Like anybody who does art, anybody who collects cards, we're all friends automatically right off the rip, unless you do something crazy. You know, I like most people, and we're like automatically we're like-minded. We like the same thing. So, you know, that aspect of it. Then I started meeting other artists, you know what I mean? And having people to bounce ideas off of. And not all my friends growing up were into art, you know what I mean? So it was kind of interesting to get a group of people who all liked art for once, you know, and that was a cool thing. I'm like, okay, this is awesome. And that, you know, just kept it going. That's still part of what invests me in card art, is that a lot of my friends do it, you know. So I'm every day talking about it, refreshing ideas with other people, bouncing ideas off people. So I don't know if that answers most of those questions, but yeah, that's what got me into it. That's what keeps me going into it. And obviously now I have fun doing it. I won't lie and say that, you know, this is my office now. I got this after One Mint Collective, and I have a lot of fun in here. You know, I got it set up with my cards. I'm surrounded by the things I like now every day. And so it feels good to have worked for that and to have achieved it too also.
Wow, that's awesome. That's really cool. So what's one of the things that you enjoy the most about it? I know you said you enjoy it. I mean, I'm sure there's multiple things, but
you know, growing up, I definitely struggled with ADD and being able to focus myself into one thing. You know, and when I find something that I'm good at, and that it just completely shuts out the mind in a way, you know, I do have to focus on what I'm doing, obviously, but it's a time where if nothing else is really, I mean, obviously some stresses, there's nothing that'll take that away, you know what I mean? But if there's a time when most of life's stresses are alleviated, then when I come in here, I could really just, it's like meditation in a way. It's like free meditation. You know, if I was trying to teach someone how to like chill out, really, I would say get an X-Acto and start making shapes. Just start cutting it out. It's like, it's almost like ASMR in a way. You know what I mean? Like if you just sit there, don't put on music or anything, you just kind of can get lost in a flow state of cutting. That's one thing I super enjoy about it. And I see actually new card artists, they'll say it a lot. It'll say the word, it's therapeutic. Well,
Mm,
it totally is, because it's a time where if you can focus up, you really don't think about anything else. And if you are thinking about other stuff, you might cut yourself. So you probably shouldn't be thinking about anything else. You know what I
got it.
mean? So that's one thing I think people who do it obviously have figured it out, but some people that don't do it might not have figured that out yet. That's why a lot of us do it.
Right. Okay. So can we, I know you have some set up. Can you maybe show us
Definitely.
some of those cards and maybe just give a little bit of details about it?
Yeah,
Anything you want to share?
absolutely. So let's see what we got here. Oh yeah, this one I just finished the other day. It's kind of something I'm proud of. If I have to take it out of the case, let me take it out of the case. Probably be better.
Okay. I mean, it's up to you.
I could be gentle enough.
Nice.
So that's obviously Kobe Jordan, and then what I like to do is my house. I'm big on the my house inserts, I think, and that's obviously like a play on who's the best. So that's
Right.
and then this one has I believe it's the shimmer overlay on there. If you could kind of see the details on there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been that's one that I just finished that I'm pretty proud of execution wise. I have been trying my best to you know, make sure there's no mistakes on these things. Make sure every cut is literally like it came from a machine. You know what I mean? I would like to think people, or I would like people to think that I cut them with the Cricut machine, honestly. And this
Got
one
it.
I know some people have seen before, but I wasn't sure. This is the DMX.
Nice. Nice. With
Um,
the old hoops background, huh?
yeah, exactly. So I purchased this one offline and worked with it. I mean, these are some cool ones that people have made before. And I like doing things that aren't sports as well. You know what I mean? I like to mix it up. Obviously,
Yeah.
this one is one of my favorites too. This is going to my buddy Vern. It's a Michael
Nice.
Jordan. Obviously, someone was telling me something about their preference being simple, and I thought, how can I keep my style but also keep it, to where I'm not overdoing it? Because I know some of the
Mm,
cards, people look at them and they think, oh, well, this guy just went crazy and added
mm,
all kinds of random stuff. So with this
right.
one, I wanted to keep the zigzag in there. You know what I mean? That still came from me, but
Yeah.
just with clean cuts and bringing some pop to it as well. And this one, you could go around this thing and not see a blemish on the border, not see a miscolored line or anything. So I love that one. And I like working with cards that are already art too. That
Mm.
is fun. What else? I think this one. Yeah, I did this one today too. This one is a. Oh wait, I didn't take any of the other ones out of the cases after I said I was going to take them out of
Oh,
the
it's
case.
all right. No worries.
See, that's ADD right there. I just get. See, this is a cracked ice wander.
Nice.
So I tried to get as much cracked ice in there that popped out the gold, and then of course the back is going to be just the back of the card. And then I cracked ice the back too. I think some people might not think about that aspect,
Mm.
but
Yeah.
I mean, I really pride myself on execution and thinking about things like when you get a card from me, you know that I thought about whatever you're going to think about. You know what I mean, as far as what you would expect the card to look like
Mm.
as a customer. What little details you would want that card to have, like, oh, I'd want the gold cup to be popped out. I want the nameplate to be something that stands out. Like that's something I probably have thought about and I'm gonna put into your card. You know, I treat every card like it's mine, like I'm gonna display it proudly myself, and I do for like a week. Some people, if it's a card I really like, I'll just be like, oh man, like I forgot to mail that yesterday for sure. There's one more day with it. Let me just watch it, because a lot of my Kobe's, I think about them. I'm like, man, I never even took a picture of that Kobe. I never even,
Mm.
showed anybody else. Only the person who bought it knows about it. I have 50, 100 cards like that a lot of people will probably be like, what the heck is this thing? That nobody ever
Right.
saw.
Wow. All right. So we got a question from my dad. He's in the chat here. I put it on the screen. He says, "Are these available on eBay? Maybe you can like share how you actually sell and how you post them and stuff like that."
Yeah, definitely. So right now, not available on eBay. I did one post on eBay for a Joe Burrow a while ago and kind of monitored it, but I didn't. One thing that happens is I don't really carry an inventory a lot
Mm.
unless I'm getting ready for a show. If I'm getting
Got
ready for a show, then I'll probably have a few extra here and there that I'm doing just because I want to do something. But most of the time these days, I try to occupy myself with commissions, because that's just, like I said, I have ADD, so I don't want to get caught into any sort of distracting tendencies. So I like to be making cards, and I like to be cutting cards for people, especially because I only ever do one of ones. That's another thing. And for me, if I had a choice, I would sit here and cut Kobe's all day, or I would sit here and cut only MJ's, you know? So it's like, I'm going to run out of ideas eventually. If I'm only doing the things I want to do, I need to branch out and see what other people want.
Got it.
You know, I might never do hockey. I might never do soccer, even though I enjoy the sports. It's probably something I would never look to. And I've had commissions that draw me in that direction. So I try to occupy my time that way. But yeah, I want to start getting, I know I have some buddies that do websites and do eBay, and I want to get more into it, but I think I need to get the confidence to be able to think I could do more cards. I always actually go towards the side of not being able to complete as many as I think, so that I don't get overwhelmed, because I know myself, and I know that if I put myself in a spot where I've only got 5 days to do 10 cards, I'm going to mess a lot of those cards up. I'm going to be stressed. It's going to affect other aspects of my life. So I really try not to do that to myself. You know, I worked hard to get to a place where I can just kind of plan everything out. So I try to stick to, you know, I'm only going to do this many cards. And then if I know I have an event coming up, like Mother's Day, for instance, I didn't take any commissions for the week of Mother's Day, because I knew I wanted to do fun things with the mothers in my life, you know, so I didn't want to take a lot of work during that time. So yeah, maybe eBay soon, or a website, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see. If it gets a little more time where I can cut different things, you'll see a lot of, probably, like I said, Kobe's on eBay.
Got it. So right now, so you're saying you don't really sell on eBay. Is it mainly through Instagram, or how do you really get the word out?
Yeah, Instagram mainly is where I spend most of my time. To be honest, I'm not huge on social media, keeping up with it, because I'm just an old soul. You know, I grew up kind of in a time where we didn't have phones in high school, and I still hold on to that old style of communication, of face to face and interacting that way. That's why I like to get out to shows. But I do get on Instagram and try to respond to as many messages as I can. Sometimes I'm getting inundated with messages. Sometimes I have a little more time to spend, you know, an hour here and there responding to everything and keeping up with that. But yeah, I do most of my sales through Instagram. People would just reach out to me through DM, and it never gets to the point where I can't, you know, keep a schedule going. You know, I did get, you know, some notoriety after the One Mint Collective, and that kind of week. It took me a while to figure out how to respond, you know, how to balance all that thing out, but I'm getting better at it. I'm, you know, it just takes time and figuring all that stuff out. But yeah, through Instagram right now is the main.
Got it. Okay. So, you mentioned Mint Collective, and that's when I think that's where I saw you. I wasn't at the show, but I saw some posts that came up, and you were at that show. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Have you ever set up? I know you set up there, but have you set up at multiple shows as well, or?
Yeah, so far I've done three big shows, as far as what I would say, you know, interacting with a couple hundred people on the day, and a couple of smaller shows interacting with like 40 or 50 people here and there. But One Mint was definitely the largest. You know, I think I lost my voice. I had to get throat drops on the second day. I'd never talked so much, you know, interacting with people, and just a lot of industry, like higher ups as well, you know, and people that are considered in the hobby to be people that are looked up to, and things like that, you know, it's like you had to be on your A game and like ready to talk and interact that way. It wasn't like a show here in California I've gone to where it's just local people and you're just, you know, not that there was any more pressure on it than before, but when you get talking to those people, you know, the eyeballs might be on what you're saying, and you know, things like that. So it was kind of bigger in that way. I'd never been in that situation before, where you're, you know, at a show at your table, and like there's a guy being followed around with a bunch of cameras on him. You know what I mean? And I'm like, okay, this is interesting. What is this guy about to ask me? And who are? Yeah, and I'm not trying to say that none of these people are popular, but there are some people I don't know who they are, because, like I said, I'm not so into social media that I know who every single person is. You know, it's like I'll be talking to them, and they'll be like, "Oh, I'm such and such and such," and I'm like, "Oh, I've heard that name before, but I didn't realize that that was you." You know, a lot of
Got
these people, you only see their hands, so I'm like, "Okay, well, turn around and do this so I can see who you are." You know what I mean?
it. That's
So it's
funny.
like, but yeah, I had a good time at 1 minute. I won't lie, it was fun, and the reception there for card art was, pretty much right down the middle. I will say that there was some people who walked right by me, and
Mm,
my buddy Piggy Banks was there with me, and we were laughing about it quite a bit. So I'm like, dude, some of these people just do not like it. They're like, why
yeah,
would these guys ruin a card? You know what I
yeah,
mean? It doesn't matter that the card might only be a $10, $5 card. Just the idea that you would not care about that value
mm,
drives them crazy. Even though I'm sitting there selling the card for 150 or $200, so obviously whatever I did to it added value, But it was for the most part really positive, and I did like a feature with Jeff Wilson and
oh,
a
nice.
couple other people like that, and that was cool too. Those guys like Blez and a lot of other people. So it was fun to be around. I didn't walk around as much as I wanted to. That's one thing I
Mm,
wanted to do, but I'm big on when you have an opportunity. Like I don't want to think I missed it by going around and doing something. Like if Josh Luber walked to the table, I wanted to be able to explain what it was that we were doing. You know what I mean, or something like that. And,
yeah,
and, and any person that walked up to the table who didn't understand card art, I wanted to make sure that after you left the table, you either understood card art enough to make a judgment on it that was based in something like that you could say, hey, I don't like it, even though this guy explained it to me. Or
right.
you might not like me, but you might like Luke the Cardist, who's a couple boosts down. You might like LJ, who's a couple boosts down, or someone on Instagram. And I always, whenever I'm in person, try to blast people with card artists that I know are good, that might fit more their style.
Got
So whenever I'm at a show, I always try to stay at my booth and talk to as many people as I can about card art and spread the word. Because
right.
everybody at some point, I think, is going to like it, even though they might be against it now. At some point, something's going to come along. They're going to be like, you know what? I didn't even know that was card art, but I like it.
Yeah.
That's going to happen. It's bound to happen.
Yeah. So, speaking of that, as far as getting the information out, that's one of the main reasons why I wanted to be able to have you on the show and be able to join me in the conversation. And that's really just a big part of just what I want to do as well, just with different people. So I'll just share personally when I first started, excuse me, when I first started seeing card art like on Instagram, my first reaction was like, why are they cutting these cards? I mean, because I'm a true collector. I I collect a lot of Kobe and a lot of basketball cards and different things like that. And man, I struggled with it when I first saw it. I was like, man, how could you just cut this? And then I started seeing more and more. Actually, I talked to Donnie B a little bit. You said you mentioned him earlier. I talked to him. I also talked to, I think it's Kev's Cards.
Oh yeah,
I don't know if you know him as well.
definitely.
And I just started seeing more of the product that's out there, and some of it's just awesome. It just looks really cool. Like there's already, I know I saw some Kobe's that you made, and even the one you showed there. Like I'm definitely interested in trying to get some of these items, and I just appreciate just the detail and the amount of effort that goes into it. And because I think for me, I mean, I'm not very artistic, so I really just see it as just a great talent. So just even speaking of that, so speaking of like the process, can you describe maybe the process that you go through, and then also maybe share like how long it maybe takes to create like one of the ones that you have on the display there?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So when it comes to the process, the main thing for me is picking a card that has elements that I don't have to, that aren't hidden by things that aren't cuttable in a way, that looks appealing. Like I don't
Okay.
want to do cards that the border is just going to take the whole image away, or it's going to cut off a hand, or
Mm,
I really try to focus in on picking good cards for cutting.
got it.
That's one big process. And then, I start off by splitting the card most of the time. I know some people ask me if I use two cards. I don't. I always use one,
Mm,
which is good if you're using $100 card or something. It doesn't. And you can do it with two if you feel more comfortable that way. If it's like a base card or something and you don't want to deal with splitting a card, by all means use two, but I like to use top dollar cards a lot of the time. So I had to develop a technique where I could harvest the back of the card and also take the image. So I do a split technique. And then, when it comes to colors, I really always try to pick colors that I think will be appealing to, because the colors are in the paper I use are picked up, like in the holographic paper I use, it'll normally absorb those colors. If it's purple and teal, it'll be purple and teal. It'll always have like a red, blue, yellow, green, those base colors, but it's going to pick up also the other colors. So what you pick in the paper will matter truly to how the image shows up. If it's a dark image, like the Wander, for instance, I wanted to make sure, because the background is so lit, and because their logo is, like colors in the border, I wanted to make sure that the zigzag was dark and the images around him are, how do I center this? There we go. So I wanted to make sure that all that is highlighted is actually the original card. Like, to me, when I look at this card, I think, man, I didn't even really do anything to it, in a weird way. I'm like, I was thinking about that earlier. I was like, wow, okay, you really didn't take away any elements of the card. Most of what Topps was trying to accomplish in this card is still there. I just put a little touch on it. So that's where I think I'm gaining in what I do. It's not execution. It's not, like theory or anything like that. It's just understanding how to appeal to, and I really want to appeal to people like yourself, who's a collector at heart, who that is just their main thing. But now they're starting to say, okay, you know what? SharkBait isn't ruining these things. Like, I'm trying to really get into a place where I'm just kind of altering these things, even though I'm doing a ton of work to them and they take me 5 hours sometimes, what I mean? So, or more. Like, I was looking for my Max Verstappen. I'm going to reach up here real quick. I have a couple of this one right here. So this is the Max Verstappen I made out of a Red Bull can. And this thing took me hours. I mean, just the tedious cut, because I had made one before and I had messed up on the corners and the zigzag. But this one right here, again, you're not going to find a bad cut on this thing. I mean, it's got the can back there is Red Bull, of course. It's all, and then
which part is the can? Which part can you? The whole back part.
The full back part is the nutritional facts. I just thought that was a fun little play on it. And then the border is made from a can.
Okay.
The zigzag is made from a can, and then also the background is going to be the can.
There it is. Okay, I see it.
So I tried to keep it like, and I always level it out and make sure, you're not going to get a card from me where the R is not, where it's supposed to be, things like that. Those little details. My buddy Card Art Syndicate, when we first started doing this, when he brought me in, he told me attention to details. And I think about it every time I cut cards. Anytime I talk to a new artist, I tell them attention to detail. I pass that down the line. That's huge in what we do. And especially because when a new artist comes up, it's like like I said, we're all part of a team. You're only as good as your weakest link, So I try to bless every card artist that I talk to with as much knowledge as I can. It's not proprietary information. If it's not like you can't truly figure out what I do if you take the card and hold it. You know what I mean? So take the idea and run with it and figure out something that looks good for you. You know what I mean? I always say I'm jealous of the people that do simpler stuff because they're doing less work than I am. You know what I mean? And I'm like, put myself into this place where if someone's like, oh, you're like, how many layers can you do? Someone was telling me, can you make it thicker? Can you do 5, 6 layers? I'm like, okay, how many zigzags can I put in? You know what I mean? So I still have fun with it. I lost my original part of the question of how long does it take me? 5 hours. Sometimes I'll get them in a little quicker every once in a while if I've been thinking about the card for a long time, because then I already know exactly what I'm going to do. I get into like a hyper-focused state where I'm like, all right, let's do this. I've been waiting to do this Kobe for a month and I'll knock it out. You know what I mean? Every once in a while I'll get them a little quicker. But yeah, I have it right in that 5-hour range. And I try to keep it at that to make sure that I'm taking my time too, to check on the little things. Make sure that the zigzag, because I color the outside of most of the paper I use to seal it in and make it look depth-wise accurate. So like in the zigzags, I make sure that every corner is not white. It's all colored in and things like that. So the
Yeah.
longer I take, the more of those details are hammered out. So I try to take my time and really do it right. So
Got it.
yeah.
So someone asked a question. They said, I'll go ahead and put it on the screen. Elliot says, maybe I missed it, but what is the value of these cars? So maybe you can share a little bit about how you value them and price them out and stuff like that.
Yeah, I when you're valuing card art, the biggest thing for me, I think, is it's all a perceived value. You know what I mean? It's all what someone sees that SharkBait, the artist, is worth to the hobby and worth to them. So
Right.
technically, someone could reach out to me and ask me to create something, and we could talk about it, and a card could be worth $250. You know what I mean? And then someone could reach out to me and say, hey, I want to cut up this Kobe Bryant rookie card. It's $1,000 card. You know what I mean? And it might go into some other range where we haven't even figured it out yet. You know what I mean? Because it's going to take me more time or things like that. But I really try to base it off of time, and then what the value of that is. Like right now, I can only do 20 cards in a month. You know what I mean? So technically, all those cards to me are worth $250 or whatever SharkBait is worth to the hobby at the moment. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
It's hard because I don't feel like I make the value in a way, but the value is whenever I'm popular, whenever people are reaching out to me and they want cards from me. And those people, I do put like a certain value on the hours. I'll say like, it's $50 an hour for me to work on this card. And that's kind of what I work, and that's the value that I put on my time. I had a very good job when I was working full time, and I thought that this was more of something that I can contribute. And that is why I quit. And that's where I, as a human being, to take time away from my son, to take time away from my wife and other hobbies that I have. I love to go to the gym. I love to cook, to take time away from that. So that's how I value that. And then, of course, like I said, if we're using more expensive cards, obviously you got to take that into account. If it's a base card or a $5, $10 card, whatever, that's something. But like, I like to order good cards. I like to see, here's a 10. Let's crack it and cut it. You know what I mean?
Wow.
I know people don't like to hear that, but if you want your card to be 100% centered, you know what I mean? And some people only collect 10s, and the thought of cutting anything but a 10 would drive, I've had customers like that. They're like, I cut up a Marvel LeBron, the Marvel LeBron insert. And I was showing him some of the cheaper ones, because I'm like, dude, these are, $400 or $500 cards. Let's just get one that's an 8 or like a little off center. He's like, no, find the one that's most on center. It's a 10, and let's get it. And that's, some people will only take that. So you really have to take that into consideration. That's the collector I'm looking for too. I love that. That was when I was cutting that card. That's when I had the most adrenaline going, because one, I mess up all the time. I'm not perfect by any means. I wish I want to start keeping a pile of just messed up cards to show people like it's not all perfect. There's a cut pile of bad cards just as good as good cards. So yeah, when I was cutting that card, my adrenaline was pumping, because man, one bad cut on a border will ruin a whole card. Because that's the first thing people are going to look at, is the corners and the edges of the cuts. So I had fun cutting that though, and I still accept that challenge. I still want to cut up big time cards and get into big time collections. It's still a part of something I want to do, because I accept that challenge. I don't think you could look at a card that I made and think, this card doesn't look good now. It's destroyed. You know what I mean? I think I try to add to most of the cards in a way that's appealing now. But I mean, it's not for everybody. But.
Yeah, I hear you. So quick question. I know one of the ones that you showed, you said you put like that cracked ice design on the back. How do you actually do that and add that to the back of the card?
So what I'll use is some overlays like these here. Is going to be an overlay. I know a lot of other artists out there have started picking up on these. This is tough. I recommend to other artists, give it a lot of tries before you do it on the card that you actually are wanting to do. Okay. That's one thing. I know a lot of people are thinking like, what do I do with my base cards? Well, just practice on them, because it's hard to do this without getting bubbles. And it always, you know, when you mess up on something, it's always going to be in the most noticeable spot possible on these things. It's going to be the first thing that catches the eye is the air bubble on Kobe's head. You know what I mean? So you might have to redo it a bunch of times. But yeah, so I'll use vinyls like that to achieve the cracked ice look. And I don't do it to every card because that's not my style to go blast every card with that thing. I like to do some cards where just the zigzag and the border will have a cracked ice and everything else will be kind of like a matte style color where it takes, you know, down away so you notice the cracked ice more. So I do a lot of different things with them, but I like to incorporate the cracked ice on some of them just to give it some extra little dazzle. You know what I mean? I thought the Red Bull can, it was perfect for it because you know, that one just, in truth, one of the reasons I used the overlay on it was because I thought it might make it easier to cut. I don't think that was the truth. I think it made it harder to cut. But because I had to do it, it kept cutting the overlay, but not the can. And so, you know, I was making little, and it took me a long time. I will say that. That's why that Max Verstappen, I hold on to it with very high value. I'm like, this thing, I might just keep it for, you know, just pain and suffering of knowing how much I put into that thing.
Got it.
But yeah.
So, all right. So another question is, and I also want to make sure that I'm considerate of your timing. So let me know. I mean, I don't know how much more time you're willing to give, but we're at about 36 minutes so far. So just let me know. Sure. The question I had is, when you're dealing with somebody, like, how does that exchange go? Do you give them a lot of freedom of what they want? Do people make a lot of requests? Like, or do you limit that? How do you deal with that?
Yeah, no, I definitely keep it at a limit. You know, it really just depends of a couple of things. Like, some people will ask for things that aren't possible. You know what I mean? And they may seem like a good idea, but just execution wise, trying to find the right cards, like, it's just not a good idea. And so those type ideas, I will not. It's not that I'm afraid of a challenge, but I really won't attempt something that I know is not possible. You know, I'm just not even going to go for it. Then also, like, another thing that I really won't do is if there's someone who does a style and someone is asking for that, I'll literally just send them that person's way. You know what I mean? Like, if someone comes to me and they say, hey, I want a prism card with a patch behind it. And then I'll say, oh, and you want some zigzags and some other stuff. They're like, no, just this prism. I'm like, okay, well, I know LJ does this and he'll accomplish that for you. You know, I really won't take someone else's style. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to if you want a shark bait with this comic book style, that I'm here for you. And I'll definitely do that for you. But I really try to keep it to what I want too. I know that sounds selfish. I know that's not always what a consumer wants to hear, but I know best what's capable, you know what I mean? And what, you know, I'll take solid advice. Like, I had a customer say, I like gold. Perfect. I was doing 6 cards for him. So I did a lot of gold in the cards, you know, and in the end, I know a couple cards in, he was kind of questioning what I was doing. You know, like, he was like, I don't know if you're accomplishing what I want. And by the end, he was like, man, okay, now I see what vision you had. And I'm like, I see, there's a little bit of trust that's built there because I know you came to me and you like what I'm going to do. So it's, I try not to let what I say, you know, dictate the whole interaction. I just let the art speak for itself most of the time. That's my goal. It's like, I know I got you. And then if we're still discussing it, sometimes I'll get started on the card, or I'll start, if it's say it's a card I have a couple copies of or something like that, I'll get started on the card and then I'll just show them. And then they're like, oh, okay, good. You're good. Keep going. You know what I mean? I'm like, all right, perfect. Get a little ahead. That way, you know, let's show them a little evidence of what I got going behind too, you know?
Yeah. Awesome. So, I'm not 100% sure. You talked about it a little bit, but is this your full-time, you know, gig right now? Is this what you're doing full time?
Yeah, it is. To be honest, I have support. You know, we live with our mother-in-law, me and my wife, my son, the mother-in-law. She lets us live here. We do pay our good share of all the bills and things like that too, but they've given me the freedom to really dive into this and buy into it. And I am making as much money now as I was working, but it wasn't always that way. I will say that there was some struggles. There was some times You know, I keep a very rigid schedule. I wake up early. I still commit to it as much as I can,
Yeah.
because I want to give into it as much as I was it. I want to get out of it as much as I can. So I'm giving into it as much as I can,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
but yeah, I am doing it full time now. I'm not making, you know, $100,000 or something crazy astronomical, but I'm here every day with my son, which is a huge deal to
Mm,
me. You know, I know most people don't get that. So I feel
right.
very fortunate to every person that buys a card for me. That's why I was talking to one of my buddies, Vern, who buys a lot of cards for me. It's like, I really develop friendships with all my customers and all the people because I know, like, I hope that they understand how much it means to me because I get that time with my son. You know what I mean? And
Right.
they're giving me their time through their money. So
Right.
it's a crazy transaction when you look at it that way, and that's how I see it. You know what I mean? I see their time as such a valuable thing, and they gave me their time through their money. So I put that back into every one of these cards, 100%. That's why, you know, I don't take any uh shortcuts. I don't like just send a card out. I'm like, and whatever, it looks okay. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's not something you're gonna get from me. You're gonna get a card that you know that I invested everything I got into it and I put all my attention into it. And that's why I don't start a project and move on. When I start a project, I finish that project. Doesn't matter if I have 10 stacking up and I could move on. I put my nose to the ground, I finish that one, you know. So
Nice.
but yeah, it is full-time gig for me now.
Awesome. That's really cool, man. That's awesome. So that's really, really cool to really do something that you really love, you enjoy, and you know it's working out for you. That's really cool. Um, I wanted to ask, what goals do you have? I know we talked a little bit on Instagram. We talked about a little bit of some stuff about some Kobe stuff and some goals. What goals do you have for yourself and kind of where you want to go?
Well, for sure, I want to you know, I'm trying to always keep myself humbled and grounded and just and knowing that I'm very happy with where I am right now. You know, it's
Right.
not I'm blessed beyond belief to even accomplish what I have so far. So I'm really trying to keep that going. But I do have a stack of Kobe's here, and now I've settled in on a number. It's 81 Kobe's that I
Nice.
got.
Nice.
So 81, we all know, synonymous Kobe number. I
Oh
was
yeah.
talking about, I was like, what, how many am I going to put in here? I was like, oh, 81, duh. I really, you know, I thought about it. I don't know why I wasn't thinking, but it's 81 individual Kobe's in the 8 jersey, purple, yellow. I'm going to be working on that project for a couple months, and I really want to transcend card art in a way that people know that there's some guys out there that might give you this piece of art that is not only a one of one piece of art, but it's like something that people might look back on one day and be like, where on earth did this come from? Why is there not
Mhm.
more of it? You know what I mean? That's what I have a vision for this Kobe piece. I really want to create it and just blow the top off the hobby and just people see it and be like, holy cow, this is something crazy. You know, it's more than just card art. These guys are creating art and then we see it that way. You know, it's just a little fun thing. I love Kobe, so the thing might be hanging right behind me. Who knows what happens with it in the end?
Right.
But I just wanted to honor. And then I saw someone who was collecting like all the old school skyboxes and things like that, and I thought, oh, okay, this is a cool idea. Let me start getting all of them. And you know, as far as collecting goes, I don't try to because my mind is such an addictive personality, I know that I could want to own every Kobe card that exists. So I
Right.
truly limited myself in the beginning, knowing that I shouldn't collect cards. I should just kind of, you know, so I was collecting the base thinking I'm just going to get all these Kobe cards, but then I have a hard time not cutting stuff. I really do. When it's here and I see it, I start to automatically think of what kind of project it could be. You know,
Mm, got it.
what can this turn into? Like I started to think, okay, well, I'm going to cut up a 200 individual Kobe cards and hang them up, you know. And then I
Yeah.
thought, oh, I'm going to make a giant snake Kobe. So it's, you know, it's evolving. It's become a bunch of different things, but
Yeah.
those 81 cards are going into a project Kobe of some sort now, and that'll occupy a lot of my time. And then getting ready for different shows. I want to get out to the national. You know, I want to get out to a bunch of different shows and showcase card art even more.
Right.
Um, I know other guys will be out there. Piggy Banks will be out there. Luke the Cardist will be out there. LJ. So we'll be represented. But I like to get out there and talk and be surrounded by the hobby and, you know, just show people in person. It's just a whole different experience seeing the card in person.
Right. That's cool. That's really cool. That's awesome. Have you been to, I know you're in Southern California. Have you been to other shows out here? I think you mentioned you have been in shows in California.
Yeah, I did a San Jose, and I'm actually in Fresno.
Okay.
I did San Jose and Fresno, but I'm trying at the end of May to go down to the cardstock trading show that's in, I want to say Van Nuys.
Okay.
With me and Piggy Banks will be out there, and I'm sure Kev's Cards will be out there. We all, you know, a lot of the card artists interact with each other. It's not like a East Coast, West Coast beef, anything like that. Like, we've met each other in person. Some people don't get along, and that's whatever. But most of us have met in person and are adults and really interact with each other and have a lot of fun, you know, and know that we can bounce ideas off each other. And like Kev's Cards, I love Kev's Cards. His cards are amazing. That's what I want to see. I think those are so clean. And
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now, I will 100% make zigzags over mosaics any day. It is not easy. What he does is not easy. And I tried one of those gold frames he does. It's not easy to fit a card in there either and get it straight. He does it every time, and it's perfect.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of respect for those guys and every guy or gal who does card art out there. You know, it's fun, and I love seeing what they all accomplish too. So yeah, that's what I'll be doing for the next foreseeable months, and spending as much time with my son and wife as I can too. That's huge. My son's 2.5, so I mean, he's crazy. That takes as much energy, if not more, as card art. I'll tell you that. You know, so
yeah, definitely. It's a lot of work with kids, but it's rewarding though, right? So
worth it. So worth it.
Man, just once again, I just really want to say thanks a lot for taking the time, just to take the time to come on the interview and just even interact on Instagram. You know, I look forward to, I'm going to stay in touch with you for sure, especially with that Kobe project. Maybe we can have you on later, and maybe when it's done or maybe in the middle of it, and we can talk about that. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Once again, I really, really appreciate it. And I appreciate you taking the time. And just want to also say thanks to everyone who joined us in the chat. And you take care, and let's stay in touch.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It was wonderful getting to interact with you and being on. Honestly, I'd love to do it in the future.
All right. Sounds good, man. We'll have to lock down another time. So
yeah,
you take care. You take care. You have a good night, and I'll talk to you later.
Sounds good, brother. You do the same.
All right. Appreciate it.
Have a good one.